My respect to the Schools Division Superintendent Idilberto Oplinaria, Assistant Schools Division Superintendent Rosemary Nasisar, SGOD Chief Maria Carmela Absin, the SGOD staff, and all participants in this webinar. Thank you for this invite. I am humbled with the trust and confidence you have in me. I would like to thank Dr. Arlene Manginsay for facilitating my participation. I would like to commend the SGOD for coming up with this activity. Beyond the disquisitions about how do we deliver our functions in the new normal, the reality is that we face an unprecedented event, a crisis with few references on which to rely on to adopt practices or actions for continuity of deliverables, particularly in all functions of the school governance operation. Hence, a new normal means a resurgence of communication. We triumph over the COVID-19 in the performance of our tasks by means of a thorough planning and communication. I am hoping that my topic would further your competencies in your everyday communication, be it on-site or in your workplace or virtual. Our specific objectives are set to hopefully strengthen your skills in communication in different genres and to exhibit efficiency in communication in the new normal. Effective communication is about connecting with your audience as you share information on-site or virtual. It's about getting your audience. It's about your audience getting your message as you intended. It begins with understanding who your audience is and how they can best hear your message. Then using this information to craft and deliver your message. We use communication every day in nearly every environment, including in the workplace. Whether you give a slight head nod in agreement or present information to a large group, communication is absolutely necessary when building relationships, sharing ideas, delegating responsibilities, managing a team, and much more. The flow of my discussion will be on the different tenets. The types of communication, basically there are four which are very essential to us in the new normal. And the most significant are the tips to virtual meetings and conferences. So, here we go with the rationale. Imagine yourself alone in a room. No gadgets. No one to talk to. How long will you bear the situation? Pandemic has no place to stop communication. In fact, the more that we have time to communicate with each other, because we need someone to talk to or listen to while we are in distress brought about by our present situation. Apparently, in the performance of our roles and functions, per what is expected in us, communication is very basic. The absence of communication, both written and oral, leads to a lot of consequences and indifferences. Miscommunication, particularly, costs life, compromises friendships, and causes losses in business. Communication helps to facilitate the process of sharing information and knowledge, but also helps people to develop relationships with others. Communicating effectively will definitely make our lives better. Learning and developing good communication skills can help us succeed in our career, make us competitive in the job, and boost our confidence in building network. Albert Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. All too often, we let the fear of the unknown stop us. But pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones is actually good for us. Trying new things, not only helps us to vanquish those fears, but it also allows us to expand our minds and learn both about said new thing and about ourselves. Change is here. When communication strikes indifferences, it becomes easier for us to explain face to face in order to be understood. But now, we woke up to find out that things would never be the same. The reality is we are in crisis. Though we have communicated with each other in the workplace, it is still good to look back and see the results as reference to the next steps. We'd focus on better communication to best communication. Correspondingly, in this time of pandemic, we put so much premium on virtual communication, which may be over other media with the help of gadgets, cell phones, Messenger, Viber, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, different platforms like Google Meet, Zoom, Teams, among others. But take note, learn it from experience. Absence of face-to-face in communication contributes to different interpretations and creations of meaning. There are cases where misunderstanding occurs. Hence, we need to improve or work with redesign our way of communicating with each other. The arrangement of words and phrases, otherwise known as syntax, so I believe you have encountered that in your previous sessions, provides meaning to what is supposed to be relayed. Incorrectly used words or missing information can make you look dumb and could even put a person to prison. And so does punctuation, mechanics, and others. The lack of one Oxford comma in a Maine state law just cost Oakhurst Dairy $5 million in overtime pay. The reality is that all crises have many things in common. The very evolution of the pandemic and its sociological and economic impact have demonstrated the power of effective communication, even more in a connected world that has had to isolate itself, but in which we have desperately sought connection. Before we talk about the nitty-gritty of webinars and online conferences, please allow me to talk about the tenets of communication, which can be applicable in all types of communications we are with. Effective communication is honest. The rock bottom, most steadfast principle of any communication is honesty. Honesty builds rapport with your audience. And in this stage of social media, a strong rapport is vital to success. And if anything short of the truth can cause adverse consequences for both you and your audience. In extreme cases, not telling the entire truth can cause physical harm. Once your audience sees that you are shaving off parts of the truth, not telling the entire story, or worse, distorting the message with misinformation, your communication is doomed. These repercussions are some of the many reasons why you must maintain the highest level of integrity in all your communication. But there is a positive reason as well. Being honest is doing the right thing. Clear communication means your audience doesn't have to guess or fill in the blanks or even ponder your meaning. Clarity enables your audience to get your message as you intended. Instructions especially benefit from clarity. Clarity is greatly enhanced when communication focuses on a single meaning and message. Clear communication means your audience doesn't have to guess. Again, doesn't have to guess or fill in the blanks or even ponder your meaning. Accurate is sticking to the truth in what you say, and you should also try to include as many facts as possible. Remember, again, many facts as possible. Once you have adapted your message style and content to suit your audience, You must then focus on the actual content, making sure that it is appropriate and accurate in order to get the audience attention and to make them be actually interested in your message. You should make sure that you stick to the truth in what you say, and you should also try to include as many facts through sources, documents as proofs as much as possible. This is because they are the only thing that proves to your audience that what you're telling them is true and evidence-based. Once you have the credibility, everyone will listen to you. Comprehensive communication must provide all the necessary information in sufficient detail, thoroughly explained, and can be easily understood, even by the young minds. Next is concise. Concise is writing simply. I have said that a while ago. Make it short, make it simple. Convey a lot of information economically. Excise unnecessary phrases. Replace wordiness with short words. We call that as verbosity. Eliminate tangential information. Use simple grammatical forms. Correct. Next is correct. A correct document complies with the basic rules of writing. Mechanics, comma. I mentioned about a dairy company, which loses $1 million because of the missing comma and eventually put the concerned staff to prison. Another is timely. Your reader must be able to understand and act as quickly as possible on the information because the input is the latest talk and in as trends of the new generation. So just like the present situation, timely information to talk about would probably be on the pandemic and typhoons. Talking about let's say past experience, past situations. Um, let's talk about election. It may be passé already. Another is make it well designed, professional looking, well designed documents engender positive impressions and get noticed. Making it well designed is having it planned well on how to say it professionally. Again, professionally. The last builds goodwill. Strive to create a positive reaction. Make the personal connection with your words. Communication is something we have to use since it is vital. That is why we have to be passionate with the ideas that we share because no one wants to be interested in a person showing a blank face while discussing with his ideas. There are 4 types of communication which we urgently need to develop in conducting webinars and online conferences. Number 1, verbal. It is one of the most common types often used during presentations, video conferences, phone calls, meetings, and one-on-one conversations. Verbal communication is important because it is efficient. It can be helpful to support verbal communication with both non-verbal and written communication. Here are a few steps you can take on to develop your verbal communication skills. First is use a strong, confident speaking voice. Kanang murag na kay power ba, authority, especially when presenting information to a few or a group of people. Be sure to use a strong voice so that everyone can easily hear you. Be confident when speaking so that your ideas are clear and easy for others to understand. Avoid filler words as much as you can. It can be tempting, especially during presentation, to use filler words such as like, so, or yeah, right, or no, diba, no. While it might feel natural, no, and the insertion of no, or it might feel natural over completing a sentence or pausing to collect your thoughts. It can also be distracting for your audience. Unknowingly, nagtali na sila. How many times you say, no, or like, and then you have a line na ibalik-balik nimo. So, murag imuhan ng tatak ba, like, Diba? Diba? Or no, no, no. Try presenting to a trusted friend or colleague who can call your attention. Mag-assign lang ka to the number of times you use these filler words. But why not replace them by taking a breath when you are tempted to use them? Sometimes I do that, like a stutter ko, especially kung not familiar with the language of write the appropriate word, and then sometimes also I say it gives me time to think, but according to the my source in the internet, di daw siya maayo. Number two, nonverbal. Nonverbal communication is the use of body language, gestures, and facial expressions to convey information to others. It can be used both intentionally and unintentionally. So, for example, you might smile unintentionally when you hear a pleasing or enjoyable idea or piece of information. Nonverbal communication is helpful when you're trying to understand others' thoughts and feelings. But sometimes we're not conscious with it. Sometimes we just miss it na but we did it like ning frown ka kalit, and then na-capture ka sa camera because it is an expression of what we feel. We call that non-verbal. uh, we go back to, that's why it's good to record actually, so that we can correct, no, if ever we see ourselves na lahi mo to akong action na to. Next is written. Strive for simplicity in your script and in your slides. Take note, it is safe to use a script. Again, it is safe to use a script when you are going to present with your slides para dire-diretso ang imuhang discussion. Well, if you are articulate and then you're good in the use of language, you may not need it. But for us, we are into this new trend, so it's really good to use script. Even the broadcasters we have with the RBI and the announcers, I really told them that we really need a script so that we will be guided in what we say. Written communications or your script should be as simple and clear as possible so that you can easily track what's next. While it might be helpful to include lots of details in instructional communications, for example, you should look for areas where you can write as clearly as possible for your audience to understand. Next is don't rely on tone because you do not have the nuance of verbal and nonverbal communications. Be careful when you are trying to communicate a certain tone when writing. So, for example, attempting to communicate a joke, sarcasm, or excitement might be translated differently depending on the audience. So, instead of trying to keep your writing as simple and plain as possible and follow up with verbal communications where you can add more personality. Especially if you are not good bitaw, if you are not that if we don't have that sense of humor, murag lisod baya nga murag magkopya lang ta sa mga jokes para maka-insert lang ta og mga something na a joke or a story. So it's there if you don't have that craft. Another important thing is that take time to review your notes. Go back to your notes. Go back to your script. Setting time aside to read your emails, letters, or memos. We talk about communication. And most importantly, your script can help you identify mistakes or opportunities to say something differently. Again, important, review. Review all your notes. Review your documents. Review your emails. Review your message before sending to us. Okay? For important communications or those that will be sent to a large number of people, uploaded, nahatag, communicated, it might be helpful to have a trusted colleague review it as well. Again, review it. So in the civil service, we call it as completed staff work. I learned that during the 3-day training conducted by the civil service on completed staff work. Number 4, visual communication is the act of using photographs, art, drawings, sketches, charts, and graphs to convey information in your slides. Visuals are often used as an aid during presentations to provide helpful context alongside written and or verbal communication. Because people have different learning styles, visual communication might be more helpful for for some, to consume ideas and information, but consider your audience. Be sure to include visuals that are really understood by your audience. So, for example, if you are displaying a chart with unfamiliar data, so be sure to take time and explain what is happening in the visual and how it relates to what you are saying. You should never use sensitive, offensive, violent graphic visuals in any form. Now, when you present in your slides without an example, data, polos, numbers, so I think the best way to say is that you invite the audience to take a photo of what is seen on screen. You take a photo, and then another one is you just talk about what is it. No, generally. You say something about it generally, but not to read all those, especially kung gagmay kay siya. Okay? Let's talk about ourselves as a communicator. In 30 seconds, I'd like you to see yourself in any of these icons. Where are you of the three? 30 seconds. How is your self-assessment? Communication most likely is affected by what we are as a person. However, unknowingly, our actuations speak who really we are. Conveying a friendly, agreeable attitude is harder in the new normal. Pay extra attention to how you are coming across. Your message matters, be it text, graphics, words, or verbal. So, reread the messages in both your slides and script. Again, your slides and script. Analyze before you speak. Are they upbeat and helpful? Check your vocal tone to prepare for your talk. Most likely, if your voice is not so audible, your voice is not squeaky. So, do you sound interested or bored, judgmental or supportive? So that we need to evaluate ourselves, our voice. But it can help us kung we open ba, we open our jaw, no, drop your jaw, and then open wide. So that makes you produce better voice quality. Next, nonverbal communication is smile and nod and make eye-to-eye contact more than usual when you are on camera or even behind the mask. Next is check in with people, not just to reiterate action items, but to build relationships. The new normal can leave people being isolated or feeling isolated, unheard, and misunderstood. Di man gud makita kay our face is covered with mask, covered with face shield. So dili makita kung unsa imong unsa imong reaction, nag-smile ba ka, nagbugot ba ka, or what. So be fully in the moment when interacting virtually. Eliminate distractions so everyone can concentrate on the task at hand, like dog barkings, wail of a baby, vehicles passing, etc. But please pardon me kung nag-record ko and then nag-anhi si Jovelyn, kanang staff sa office, kay na siya giduol sa ako. I am in the office, man God, and to find no more time. So, you might hear mga iba-iba na mga kuan, tingog, because I am in the office. Pardon me for that. I cannot help it. Then check what the cam capture. So ganina na-capture ang katong among office staff nga naglabay. Again, I'd like to ask an apology because I am in the office. So clutter and glare. So lighting, di man ako siya mabalhin. I cannot move to another place. So as much as possible kung wala siya, and anything that could detract from the conversation ba. Beautiful flowers as your background would surely invite the audience to think, asa ka na niya gipalit. Instead of focusing in your talk, tungod kay na-capture man sa camera nga, tsada imuhang cardboard, na sensiveria, na succulents, and all. And then, kung ang imo pong background, kanang, nadinha, mga kanang action ba, mga posters, so it tells who you are. And then, masks and shields hide facial expressions. I said that a while ago. Yet, facial expressions convey a great deal of meaning. So, to compensate, make as much eye contact as possible. Modulate your voice more to get your intentions across.
So, choose your words carefully so you say exactly what you mean. So, kung akong hawiran na nga ako ang mic, I headset ka na ang mic, padoon ako sa kong baba to cover sa mga sound ba, mga iba-iba nga yung madunggan. Another is speak up and articulate clearly. Pardon me if I speak too fast, quick, and please let me know, no? But I just hope nga maklaro ra gyapon siya, or, maklaro ra gyapon ang message. Check for understanding, repeat and rephrase, then use hand signals and nodding to let people know they have it right. Whether you are in a virtual workplace or just socially distanced, remind yourself that we are all in these challenging situations together. And perfection maybe is impossible, especially in this situation. A supportive attitude and a few adjustments can help overcome even the most frustrating communication challenges. Now let's talk about your slide. So to keep your audience from feeling overwhelmed, you should keep the text on each slide short and to the point. Um, 6 to 7 lines, no more than 6 to 7 lines, font not less than 24, and the content of the slide. I got this from the internet nga, not more than 30 words daw. So, ana lang, not more than 7 lines. Ang uban man good, in the internet, tag 5 lang daw, 5 to 6, ana. Well, it depends on how you're going to show it. Kung ana naman ka ng few lines only, pero gidagko pod nimo, but it says here that at least the font size is not less than 24. 6 to 7 Arial. So, mo na ilahang in the internet. Yeah, that's their suggestion. Remember, you are the presenter, not PowerPoint. Ikaw, importante yun. So, use your slides to emphasize a point. Keep yourself on track and illustrate a point with a graphic or photo. Don't read the slides. Don't read the slides, but sometimes you cannot help it. No, because for emphasis, we need to read it. We reiterate. So again, you are the presenter, or I am the presenter. I am not the PowerPoint. So, so we discuss what is seen on screen, but as much as possible, do not read the slides. Use fonts not smaller than 24. Kanina, no, I mentioned it. And preferably Arial, okay? I just would like to reiterate it. Unless you intend to use another font to emphasize the point. That background must not distract the audience too, to focus on the important text. So, as much as possible, light na background, no? Okay. Next, never include anything that makes you announce. Example, prepare ka sa slide. And then, when you start talking, you will say, I don't know if everyone can read this. Doon sa amanday na ganina nga, ikaw may prepare na. Or you will say, can you read my slides? Why do we have to ask them? Did you not review? Did you not review your slides? Did you not review your presentation to make sure that they can read it before you begin? So, prepare na gidaan ang imong slides. Stick with simple animations if you use them at all. Remember that some of your audience may have learning disabilities such as dyslexia, and swirling words can be a tough challenge kana maglukso-lukso or mo flash lang. These animations will not be functional in the webcast version, especially kung record na ka. But before, no, I am guilty with this because I used that before. But then, when I read sa internet, every now and then, mag-search man ta kung what makes our presentation better, nag-discourage sila to use animations unless you have a purpose of doing so. Check for understanding, repeat, and rephrase. Proofread. This is very important. You'd hate to discover that you misspelled some words during your presentation in front of 1,000 viewers, millions, and with your high officials. It will be so embarrassing in our part. Example, you forgot to proofread your presentation. Pag flash dito sa screen, nakita na lang nimo nga wrong ang spelling sa connect. Na imbis kay double N, na double O. So, it is so safe to really proofread your script, and most importantly, your presentation kay ma-flash man ko dito. You on screen, ikaw, How we appear on screen depends on how we position ourselves during the conduct of webinars and conferences. So let me share to you some tips based on my experiences as online speaker, which would perhaps help you in any way it can. So look at the way how most of us position our camera. Top Gun. Si Chief Eva has a dark space and then distracting decors. And thank you, Sir Earl Villagonzalo, for a perfect view. Though it seems you are so close to the sailing pod, because that is how we position our camera. But before you will have your next activity on webinar or virtual meeting on conference, I will share to you some tips which I hope might help you in my own little way. Tip number 1, be passionate and energetic. 32% of attendees said they felt the most engaged when the webinar host was passionate and energetic. This is from one of the researchers. So encourage your webinar presenters or you yourself to showcase your personality while presenting. So how do you do this? Well, you could start by acting natural and speaking in a more conversational way. Remember, webinar scripts were written to be spoken aloud. So ensure that they sound natural. You can do this by writing your script in short, punchy bullet points and reading it aloud. So it doesn't feel like you've put another person's words in your mouth. Bringing some energy to your webinar presentation will also help to increase audience engagement and prevent drop-offs. Attendees would much rather spend an hour listening to an industry expert who is passionate about what they are saying rather than some monotonous robot who is reading straight from a script. So if we are used to it, no magbasa na lang ka from beginning to end, agoy, you are a robot. So as much as possible, hindi ka yan siya. Tip number 2, share personal experience. Webinar presenters are selected for their real-world experience in the chosen topic. So, if you are presenting a webinar, you should try and share some of your own personal experiences with the audience. Thank you, organizers, for this topic. Chief Maricar, thank you so much for this. I find this very valuable and appropriate for me, having conducted webinars and online conferences. Now, per invite, central office, and per our function, the regional office, to conduct webinars, online conferences. Thank you again, Chief Maricar, for trusting my craft. Tip number, isa naman ni siya. Tip number 3, okay? Tip number 3, encourage audience engagement. Audiences make judgments about you and your message in the first minute. So, it's important that you grab your audience attention in the first 60 seconds. Take note, the first 60 seconds, tapos gawas ka nga murag, nagbasa lang ka, so it is not really a good start sa imong talk. And encourage engagement to ensure they stick around. So, naragin na nimo as a presenter. So, if you're running a webinar for 30 minutes long or longer, you need to make the most of every second to keep your audience engaged throughout. So, you can do this by utilizing various interactive features such as live polls, live chat, a live Q&A at the end, or salit nga lang na to kanang nato isa to bit. So your audience can interact with you in a real time. So this two-way interaction will help break down the barriers, between the audience and the presenter, increase viewing time, and improve attendee satisfaction. Using rich media such as images, GIFs, and videos will also help to improve engagement, as 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual. Ako, ko kanang, di ba kanang intelligences, no? Ako is visual ko. The old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But when it comes to a video, a 1-minute video is equal to 1.8 million words to your audience, I tell you. I suppose to include some videos in my presentation, but because my presentation with you will be asynchronous, so you just play it because of my conflict of schedule. I have difficulty of adjusting to show a video and continue with my presentation. So I just have this recorded and then will be presented to you in asynchronously. Next is, tip number 4, meet audience expectations. Sorry. Meeting the expectations of your audience or serving user intent is integral to the success of your webinar. Sorry. You want your audience to leave your webinar feeling as though they have invested 30 to 60 minutes of their life wisely, taking away some newfound knowledge, solutions, and inspirations. So gathering feedback is a great way to ensure that you have delivered a satisfactory webinar and met your attendees' expectations. So the comments, the questions, the interactions, these are good references for evaluation. So as a speaker, tanawon dito, or you might assign someone, tanawa daw dito sa chat box sa ilang reactions, and then sa ilang questions. So, oh, there's flooding congratulations, flooding thank you, and all. So that's a good evaluation. Tip number 5, present to a global audience. Good afternoon may be appropriate greeting where you are in the world, but it may not be for your global audience. Speak the language of your target audience and tailor your opening and closing statements to reflect the differences in time zones when presenting. So, example, keep your intro open like, good day everyone. When you say, good day everyone, so it is safe. Pwede siya gamitin sa buntag, pwede po gyapon sa hapon. So, or warm greetings for everyone. Safe gyapon siya. Hi everyone, thank you for attending. So, okay kayo siya. And then sa closing po say, thank you for attending this webinar. God bless everyone. Maayo gyapon siya. Universal gyapon siya no walay kabalaka as to time zones. So that way you don't alienate your audience by only greeting a small percentage of attendees, and everyone is happy, especially kung imo ipa-FB live. Ano din mo siya, or you'd like to play this again, or you will upload this in the YouTube. So safe ka sa time zone. Tip number 6 is keep cool, calm, and collected. Guilty gapon ko ani kay basta ma-strike kan gani ko kana bitaw murag erroneous nga na mawala ko pagka-cool. But we have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Again, plan for the worst and hope for the best. Mapalong, panilitan mo palong ang internet, ma-disconnect ka, then you are here presenting. So, of course, you get cut off. So, what are you going to do? Diba? So, make a plan B. So, kung gabay lang, you make a plan B for the presentation. Example, you may want to have a printed or local version of your slides with you, or pwede nimo siya i-send ahead sa host. So, you can continue to present if you experience any problems with your internet connection. So, makita gyapon nila, even if ikaw na adiri, whether you're on site or virtual ka, so even if na-disconnect ka, but then sila okay lang internet, so they can continue playing your video, or then continue with your talk. So remember, your moderator or fellow presenters can transition your slides for you while you log back. You log back in, and if you lose your phone connection, your internet connection, your moderator can come back online and keep the audience informed. So above all, stay calm, cool, and collected. Tip number 7, create engaging slides. One thing to always keep in mind when creating slides for your webinar presentation is that less is more. Katong ganina, 6 to 7. Ano lang. This means that you should keep your slides simple, with plenty of white space, concise copy, and clear imagery. This will draw the audience attention to the most important information without distracting them. Creating presentation slides also gives you the opportunity to make your brand front and center. So example is your division PowerPoint template, diba na the branding of the land, the beauty and bounty, the Saribanuk logo. So consistent branding helps to improve brand recognition, builds trust with customers, and increases revenue by even up to 23%. So you can make your brand shine by inserting your brand's logo on every slide. It really looks good. No, I like your Sarimanok logo. It's so catchy. And then your tagline, the land of beauty and bounty. I don't know if we have that, di ba? ISO man ang Lanao del Norte. So I think Lanao del Norte Division. So siguro, just like us in the regional office, we have our PowerPoint template, so we can use it. But wala na ko siya nagamit karon kay daghan manggugog mga graphics ba. So once I will use it, madaplin kaayo siya. So ma-full na dayon ang akong slide. But I have seen your Sarimanok logo, and then your tagline, the land of beauty and bounty. Try it, really nice. Be punctual. That's important, especially if you are a speaker. So we like to be fashionably late from nanad na ba? But this is not a party. This is a webinar. So make sure you show up on time so you can start right at the scheduled time without making your audience wait. Murag mo add siya nga, ay, so dili na ko ganahan maminaw, ana. So be on time. Always log into your webinar platform at least 15 minutes before the scheduled starting time to ensure everything is working correctly, such as your mic, your internet connection and webcam, then yung presentation, makalusod ka dito. You are presenting now, daghang problema ana, so magsige. If you are not prepared, may dialogue, is my presentation seen? I am clear. Am I clear? Of course, maset naman nimo ang imuhang kuan mic. So by that dili na mo ta akong giingon bitaw earlier nga kuan as much as possible. Kanang be prepared. Huh? This is particularly important if you have international attendees na masukot na sila who are tuning in from different time zone and only have a small window of time to attend your live seminar. So sayang kay kuan gud sila but on time. Also, ensure that you remain within your allocated time. Ayaw pug lapas. Okay ra og kanang gamay ra so do you have time for Q&A. Pag mo lapas na pud ka, lahi na pud na. So if you advertise that your live webinar would run for 60 minutes, try to stay within that time rather than running over. However, if you are inevitably going to run over time, just make sure you give your audience a heads up. So meaning interested pa kaayo sila. In case they need to leave and want to ask a quick question before they go. Yan na lang. So extending mo or as much as possible, like sa kuha, I am given 2 hours. So ang akong kuan man gud ang akong session, gi-time na ko siya 1 hour or even less. Ana lang. So, at least na po time to discuss among yourselves, no? Which the facilitator will manage. So, nga na pa may time for discussion. Tip number 9 is think outside the box. Outside the box. Dili sa 4 corners, sigud ka mastay, maugin ni. Grab your audience attention in an engaging way when presenting and think outside the box. Whether it's by showing a video of you presenting at a conference or a news article as a way of introducing yourself. So, pwede nimo na siya i-design, especially if you're tech savvy. Naman si Earl Tuliro diha. So, pwede yung kanang way of introducing a person. So, pwede nimo siya i-video rather than sulti-sulti, no? There are no rules when it comes to presenting. Think differently, unconventionally, or from a new perspective. Kanang dili ta pabiya ba? Okay, next is practice. Practice. Perfection may be impossible, but practice makes us perfect. Though it's an old cliche, but the same holds true for your webinar presentation. So make sure that you log into the webinar platform a couple of days beforehand to familiarize yourself with the software and plan what you need to do on the day. If you're struggling with the platform and require some guidance, you can book in a run-through with your webinar provider so you feel more confident on the day. Here, electronic communication can never replace you as a person. Communication leads to community, understanding, getting the message across, and bridging the barriers in each of us. So remember the 4 types of communication, very important in the new normal. I'd like you to get a mirror. So in 2 minutes, you look at yourself. Get the best angle of your eyes, your lips, and do a quick exercise of nonverbal communication. So how would you look like when you think deeply? How would you show you if you appreciate? How would you show if you are contented? How would you move your hand when you encourage everyone to share information? Because yourself is the best tool in online communication. You might not like to be on screen all the time. So here I'm using OBS. Okay, OBS, it is a studio to record your presentation. Kay in kaso, kay naka-appointment lain, so at least ready na ang imong presentation with naagyapon imong now. Okay, more for you. Use laptop, not phone. Believe it or not, many people opt to do conference calls via their smartphones. Ani, but remember, pag dahil mo tawag ni mo, din important kaayo, so maputol. No, maputol ang imong connection kay mag-answer man ka. The apps tend to be very convenient to use, but not a good idea. Use your laptop or desktop computer to make the call, which allows you to easily take notes and have a stable image, which is nearly impossible if you're holding your phone or trying to balance it on your desk. Oh, sorry. Test the technologies, especially the platforms to be used. Check your mic, your internet connection, etc. Raise your webcam to eye level. Okay? Dili pud too much kay ana lagi tapgan or ani ang imong ilong imong kuha. Sana so imong angle. People tend to put their laptops on their desk during virtual meetings, but this often results in webcam being awkwardly positioned with the camera is tilted up. You've all been on calls and you're looking up and then the nose of a person on the other hand, which can be rather off-putting and even menacing. So ensure your webcam is at eye level so your image will look more natural, as if you're both sitting across from each other at the same table. But the easiest way to do this with a laptop is simply put it on top of a box. Use a good microphone. Ano daw, pero kanira ako. Okay, masiguro gyapon ang audio. Position conference window near a camera, anak. Para makita nimo ba kung saan na dagat. You may be tempted to maximize your conference application to full screen so everyone else's image looks big on your screen. Instead, make the conference application as small as possible and position it adjacent to your computer's camera. This way, when you look at the video image of the person you're talking to with the application, your gaze will not seem pointed toward a completely different direction. So, tanawin mo sa screen ba? Try it. You will see what I mean. Number 6, make virtual meetings feel real. Conversational lang, as if you're talking to them personally or face to face. Number 7, dress the part. Okay, dressing professionally is a must. Nabiyan na sa ato ang kwan. Etiquette, no? Etiquette sa online webinars and I recommend dressing as you would if you were meeting the other participants in person. That goes for your bottoms too. Number 8, look at camera. You look at camera, not screen, when talking as much as possible. While this takes some practice, seasoned professionals who do a lot of web conference calls make a point to look up. While this takes some practice. Seasoned, I mean, they look at their Canva. Again, while this takes some practice, seasoned professionals who do a lot of web conference calls make a point to look at their webcam when speaking or listening to a specific person on the call rather than looking at their video image. While looking at someone's image is perfectly natural, what we do in person, looking instead at your camera gives it seemed like you're looking directly at them basta ana ka sa camera mag-focus, which creates a stronger connection. So while subtle, it feels different. So as much as possible ana daw camera, but usay mo gud kay murag tutog sa dag-ayo ana murag dako atuang daong ba. Oh. Number 9, avoid multitasking. As tempting as it may be to respond emails or browse through your Instagram feed while on a virtual meeting, no one will notice, right? So avoid doing it. Even if you're a master multitasker, anything you do that isn't related to what you're doing, to what on meeting itself, will prevent you from fully participating and absorbing the content. So I understand that being fully present in every single meeting is difficult, especially those you feel aren't necessary. However, for those meetings that truly matter, you should force yourself to focus on what's being said as if you were there in person. Marabag nag face to face mo. Number 10, virtual meetings are a platform where you can shine. By taking them as seriously and thoughtfully as physical in-person meetings, you can use them as a way to further build a positive personal brand. So you can be known as someone who's digitally savvy, current, professional qualities. Your clients, colleagues, and stakeholders will value whether meeting you virtually or face to face. Okay, so use that platform to shine. It's your opportunity, Nanaka. You can be seen on screen. Okay, maybe by this we I have shared to you. I hope that really helps you, even just a little. That's There may be a lot of learnings you will have if you will surf the web. But one important thing is that may we all be guided by the position and the designation we have in all the way we communicate, because the art of communication is a language of leadership. God bless everyone, and thank you so much. My pleasure to share with you everything as much as I can. Good day.